What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jobbers and Goons. I'm gonna wait for you guys to file in. I am going to be reacting to my new So if you guys don't know, and while I'm talking, I'm kind of posting links in different chats, posting this to my Discord, all that. But if you guys don't know, if you guys were not aware, I just actually literally recently announced it on my recent half of a podcast with my boy Weeaboo Warriors, but I'll be starting a podcast with essentially a round table of YouTubers in the same genre as me, some a lot bigger than me, some smaller, but regardless, they're gonna join up, and we're gonna have like amazing weekend podcasts. And it's just gonna be you guys seeing some of the bigger and in some cases more unique content creators on the platform that have to do with our genre. So in my opinion, I think it's awesome. So we're gonna be doing that. It's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna be reacting to the first or new members of this round table. We got Zarachan, Weeaboo Warrior, and Zero from NATO. So I'm gonna react to their different videos, and we're starting off with Weeaboo Warrior's Harry Potter tier list. I'm gonna be giving my take on it throughout the video. If you guys want to donate, you can donate through YouTube, or you can hit the Cashapp. I'd appreciate it very much. But yeah, let me go ahead and post a Cashapp link for you guys. I'll pin it. I also have video deals going on. Hit me up on Discord if you want them. But yeah, let's get into this reaction. Hope everyone's doing well, by the way. I see everybody in the live chat. Shout out Damon, Lesky, and all of them. Alright, let's go.
Welcome to the wizarding world of the Weeaboo Warrior. In this video, I'm going to be ranking pretty much all of the major characters and creatures of the Harry Potter franchise in terms of how powerful I believe they are. The main focus will be around the Harry Potter books and movies, with some added content from the Fantastic Beasts movies as well as the game Hogwarts Legacy. Now let's start this magical adventure, shall we? The bottom tier houses all of the
Hey, we might unfortunately see your boy Jobbers and Goons is the worst editor out of everyone in my fucking group. This might be a low-key exposure of how trash sometimes my shit can be on the editing. I gotta get better at that. I mean, I am getting better though. I feel like my last few have been really good.
Creatures I deem to be below human level and not really a lethal threat to us. Bowtruckles are small plant-like creatures that have long, sharp fingers they can use to gouge at their attacker's eyes.
Facts, they're not on shit.
Billywigs are fast-flying insects and can deliver a sting that can cause their target to float. Midgets are extremely fast, small birds that used to be used in Quidditch before the snitch was invented. Jobberknolls are bigger birds. Puffskeins are harmless, but
imagine having Jobber as a part of your species name. Oh, fuck. That's just, hold on, I just wanted to say a quick fucking rested pepperoni for that. Holy shit. That is rough.
they can stick their tongue up your nose. Baby manticores have claws and stingers, but they're easily crushed underfoot. The baby dragon Norbert was able to shoot a small fire blast, which should be enough to cook the creatures below. Nifflers are crafty creatures that have good reaction speed and can slip through small crevices. Chupacabras are similar in size, but they have sharp teeth and are more aggressive. Diracals are actually what us muggles call dodos, but they didn't actually go extinct. They just have the power to teleport. Mooncat.
Yeah, I love how Harry Potter's verse is like the definition of having creatures and characters that just do shit. That's Harry Potter for sure.
Peaceful creatures, but they're quite a bit bigger than the ones below. They may charm some with their cuteness, but others may have fun knocking them around. Doxies are flying venomous fairy-like creatures. Mrs. Norris and Crookshanks are cats and can probably maul the creatures below. Surprisingly, we can power scale these two cats.
Oh, I didn't expect him to get a shout out. Okay, let's get into it.
As J.K. Rowling herself said, Crookshanks would win in a very close and brutal fight due to his Kneasel ancestry. The Monster Book of Monsters is an insanely vicious book that will attack anything that moves. It was strong enough to give adult men trouble, and could cause severe damage to the smaller creatures in this tier.
Fact.
Even if the book can't finish them off, it can probably outlast them considering it runs on magic and probably doesn't get tired. Fire drakes are small flying lizards that can emit sparks from their tails. They could easily set the Monster Book of Monsters on fire and take the rest of the creatures out by setting their surroundings ablaze. The Muggle tier is for non-magical folk and creatures that can pose a threat to them. Young Neville, despite being a wizard, is at the bottom of this tier as he has absolutely no talent in magical combat.
Absolute dog shit. You want to talk about the quintessential jobber of the verse? My God. Neville Longbottom. Bring your ass here, boy. You chose to be a bitch for 90% of your tenure within the verse.
Young Finnegan wasn't much better, as pretty much all of his spells resulted in them blowing up in his face. Cornish pixies are incredibly strong for their size, with just 2 of them being enough to lift Neville completely off the ground. They're smart and can even somewhat use wands if they manage to get a hold of one. Grindylows are bigger, have sharp teeth, and can be quite dangerous while in the water, especially in groups. They made Fleur drop out of the second try wizard tournament task. Murtlaps can give a human some trouble with their strength, despite being much smaller. And their venomous bite can be quite debilitating for muggles. Auguries are large birds that eat fairies and insects. Foopers are owl-like birds with a higher Ministry of Magic classification rating. Their song will eventually drive the listener insane. Hedwig...
By the way I'm kind of approaching this, since it's a tier list, like, I'm either going to comment on stuff I agree with or have, like, a heavy opinion on, or what I disagree with. By the way, shout out to everybody tuning in.
She's a very intelligent owl, and she can use that intelligence to take her massive talons and gouge them into someone's jugular. Giant purple toads aren't really a threat to adult humans, but they could probably gobble up the creatures below, and they would be pretty hard for a person to kill without a weapon. Kneasels are large cats that can probably take down the creatures below. The snake from the zoo was a Burmese python in the movie, and a boa constrictor in the book. It was stated that it was the biggest snake in the zoo, and long enough to wrap its body around Vernon's car twice and crush it. Boas don't nearly get that big, and no snake could crush a car, so maybe the book was being hyperbolic because it's being told from the view of an 11-year-old Harry. Or maybe J.K. Rowling just doesn't know much about snakes. Anyways, this is the place I think an actual large boa or average-sized Burmese python would go.
Okay, so it's funny he says that, because that's quite possibly the case. I don't know if you guys know this, but J.K. Rowling was accused, like, time and time again by several different authors and creators of just outright plagiarizing or stealing their shit. Maybe she doesn't know shit. That's a possibility.
If we take the book statement seriously, it would go a tier up, if not 2. Demiguys are nearing human size and can turn invisible, as well as see the most likely immediate future, both of which are abilities that can help in combat. They're usually peaceful but can bite if provoked. Griphook and the other non-combatant goblins never really got to show off what they're capable of and are smaller than humans, so I rank them below. The Dursleys represent your average muggle. Filch is a squib, which means he had magical parents but he himself can't use magic. So essentially he's a regular human, but his magical knowledge could give him an edge. Jacob Kowalski may not have a lot of height or muscle, but he has a lot of heart. And out of all the muggles, he had the best combat feats, smacking unsuspecting wizards and punching out a goblin gangster. We're getting up into the low student tier, and this tier is for characters on par with competent wizarding students in their first few years of school.
Hold up, weeaboo. Hold up. This might sound out of place. I'm just saying Jacob might beat the fuck out of first year Hermione. I'm sorry guys. He catches that bitch with the bungalow, catches her with that damn suitcase. She's cooked. Filch would be
Kappas are Japanese water demons that feed on the blood of humans. If it loses the water in its head, it loses its strength. Wyverns have the strength to lift and fly with an adult man. This means they also have the power to drop said man. Lucrotas are essentially big-mouthed moose, and moose were already scary enough. Unicorns are essentially just horses with a horn.
A moose will beat the fuck out of you. That's facts. No, that's all facts.
They can cave a person's head in with their hooves, or shish kebab them with their horn. Chillin are part dragon, part horse, and may be partially resistant to the killing curse, as an adult managed to seemingly take 2 shots of Avada Kedavra before going down. And even then it took a while.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. Hold on. That's kind of crazy.
We're getting up into the low student tier. And this tier is for characters on par with competent wizarding students in their first few years of school. Kappas are Japanese water demons that feed on the blood of humans. If it loses the water in its head, it loses its strength. Wyverns have the strength to lift and fly with an adult man. This means they also have the power to drop said man. Lucrotas are essentially big-mouthed moose, and moose were already scary enough. Unicorns are essentially just horses with a horn. They can cave a person's head in with their hooves, or shish kebab them with their horn. Chillin are part dragon, part horse, and may be partially resistant to the killing curse, as an adult managed to seemingly take 2 shots of Avada Kedavra before going down.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
even then
crazy.
It took a while for it to finally die. Dugbogs are giant frog creatures that are capable of grabbing and dragging deers to their watery grave. Aragog's children were large and dangerous, but they could be taken out by second-year Harry.
A lot of don't know this, but if you have the YouTube app on your
Shout out to
phone,
my boy
you
Weeaboo
could be
getting
using
them
it to make up to $10,000.
Damn cash with the ads. Facts.
Inferi are essentially the zombies of the Harry Potter world, and they're immune to most attacks and spells, with fire being their one weakness.
Facts.
Albus Potter was
They got
initially
fucked.
terrible at
Literally.
magic, and Scorpius Malfoy was a bit of a spaz. Neither of them saw much combat, but they did manage to escape from the Trolley Witch, who has stopped the likes of Sirius, Fred, and George, though we don't know how old they were at the time. The Cursed Child only goes up to their 4th year at Hogwarts, and considering their incompetence, I would say the low student tier is appropriate. Colin Creevey was a part of Dumbledore's army and ended up dying in the Battle of Hogwarts. He was essentially replaced by Nigel in the movies, who was also in Dumbledore's army and managed to perform a successful stunning spell on Harry. Ron in his early years at Hogwarts was able to knock a troll out by dropping its.
Nah, this shit is so funny because it just makes me think of the D&D I run in my server with Harry Potter and the stupid shit they do. They're 3rd years right now. That shit is so fucking funny. They're a lot more dangerous in my D&D though because it takes place in like ancient times and they be killing other students. That shit's so funny.
Its own club on its head, and has a spell that can make his opponents continuously barf up slugs. Draco Malfoy during his early years was above average for his age, being skilled in broom flight as well as dueling, using spells to bully other students, such as when he used the Leglock Curse on Neville. He also plays dirty, which can give him an edge against more noble opponents.
Do you see what I mean? Fucking Neville, man. Neville used to just get cooked. Just fucking folded and cooked.
Of a similar caliber to him. Harry Potter of a similar age would go right above him, as he's proven himself to be a better flyer with an inferior broom, and landed a spell on Draco after the duel started rather than before. Hermione in her first couple years seemed to be a step above all of her classmates, having the most magical knowledge by far. She froze Neville in place with Petrificus Totalis, and was able to immobilize all of the Cornish pixies at once, while most of the other kids, as well as their teacher, were running from them. She also wasn't afraid to get physical, making Malfoy run after decking him in the schnoz. Despite the fact he ran from the pixies Hermione detained, I put Gilderoy Lockhart a spot above her. This may be a surprise to some of you, but Lockhart was actually above average in intelligence and ability. With his magic.
Yeah, he was. They said his jinx or whatever, his memory erasure, his ability with that was ridiculous. They said it was like unmatched, essentially.
Magical skills once being rather good, but he was so lazy he decided to only practice memory charm so he could steal other wizards' achievements, and ignored all of his other abilities. This caused his skills and other magic to become rusty almost beyond repair, which is why he seemed like such a buffoon when we saw him. But as long as he has a working wand, he should be able to obliviate the students below him.
Agreed.
The mid-student tier is for characters that are proficient in magic but are not yet on the level of an adult wizard. Fawkes the Phoenix is an immortal creature that was able to scratch out the eyes of a basilisk and was strong enough to carry multiple people at once. In the books, he straight up ate a killing curse and just revived out of his ashes. When he dies, he becomes a helpless chick again, so he's essentially defeated at that point, though it seems he can grow up pretty quickly. A phoenix's tears can heal, so maybe Fox could cry on himself to prevent himself from turning to ash and being reborn. Phoenixes also have the power to disappear and reappear at will.
This would just purely be a battle of canon between me and him. I don't think a phoenix could do that to itself. I'm possibly, I don't know. I think it would have just cried away the killing curse, you know? But I concede it'd be headcanon argument for both.
Madigos are spirit familiars that are essentially cougar-sized cats. They won't attack unless attacked first, but if they're hit with a spell, they'll multiply, making them seemingly impossible to put down for good. This spot represents a single Madigo, but based off how many times it multiplies, it could be ranked much higher. Mer people have near human level intelligence, are fast swimmers, and wield sharp tridents. Centaurs have similar intelligence, but are bigger, reside on land, and have ranged weapons. The Centaur Ferens managed to scare off a weakened Voldemort-Kroll combo after they killed a unicorn. Indiscriminately kill anyone in the vicinity. Lupin as a werewolf defeated Sirius Black in dog form, and third-year Harry and Hermione had to run from him. The Hippogriff Buckbeak managed to beat back and scare Lupin off. Thestrals were able to attack giants along with Buckbeak in the Battle of Hogwarts. They are invisible to anyone who hasn't seen death, which would make them extremely difficult for anyone who hasn't seen death to deal with. But as long as they're visible, I would rank them below Buckbeak.
I can see that. Vestals or whatever, they were a dope aspect. When pretty much Harry was the only one seeing them, and then he realized Luna was fucked up too. Solid storytelling, don't at me.
Kelpies are water beasts that often take the form of a horse and use their powerful swimming ability to drag people down to their watery doom. Trolls are large humanoid creatures that reach 12 feet tall and weights of over a ton. They're incredibly strong, but also incredibly stupid, with the mountain troll from the Philosopher's/Sorcerer's Stone getting defeated by first-year Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Every day proof your car with Armor All stain-repelling technology. Less work, more clean.
Shout out to Jedi, everyone.
The Weasley's flying car could just run over most of the
video
creatures.
is fire. Y'all better go subscribe to his shit and go watch this.
And characters below, with the troll being the only thing strong enough to defeat it. But considering the troll was knocked out by its own club being dropped on its head, a flying car ramming into its head would probably kill it. The car also seemed unironically smarter than the troll. Erumpins are giant rhino-like creatures with a large horn on their snout that can inject a fluid that causes their target to explode. It's likely too big and tough for the car to put down. The Whomping Willow busted up the flying car and was used to keep Lupin in his werewolf state in check, so it would go above them. The Erumpin blew up a smaller tree, but I think a tree with the size and ferocity of the Whomping Willow would be too much for it. It's limited by the fact it can't move anywhere, but most of the creatures below would have to get within its striking range to try and destroy it. Dementors are known for being one of the foulest creatures in the wizarding world, feeding off the happiness of humans.
I'm considering doing a video on the creator of the Dementor. I think his lore is fascinating.
Their mere presence causes their surroundings to freeze, and they can suck the soul right out of someone. There's no known way to permanently kill them, and the only known spell that can drive them off is the Patronus Charm. The next group of students were a part of Dumbledore's army and learned the Patronus Charm and should be able to drive off a single Dementor, as well as have the spells and wit to defeat the other creatures below. Cho is at the bottom of them because she said she could never stun anything before her training with Dumbledore's army. Lavender Brown doesn't have anything good or bad going for her, so she's next. Seamus Finnegan is good with pyrotechnics, so having a positive puts him above her. Cormac McLaggen is your typical Chad normie, and his increased athletic ability would give him the edge over his other classmates. So I award him King of Being Mid. The high student tier is for students who are at the graduate level, and adult wizards who aren't.
Cormac, no! He said Cormac's the king of mid. No, the Cormac stray was crazy. Justice for Cormac. Get in the fucking comments, man. They're gonna do the big Cormac the Keeper.
Specialized in dueling or
Fucking
combat.
athlete.
Akamis are creatures that can adjust their size to the space they're in, and they can become quite large, to the point I think they would physically overwhelm the people and creatures below. They can also fly and move extremely quick despite their large size. Ollivander doesn't have any combat feats and was kidnapped by Death Eaters, so he can make as many wands as he likes, but until he shows he can fight with them, he doesn't go any higher. Xenophilius Lovegood attempted to stun Harryhorn. Mundungus Fletcher's a coward, but he was still good enough to be a part of the Order of the Phoenix. He managed to apparate away from Voldemort's killing curse, so he should be able to do the same to Xenophilius' spell. Scabier was a Snatcher, and this spot basically represents the fodder enemy wizards. Queenie Goldstein doesn't have many combat feats, but she managed to take one aura down with a chair while walking away. She's a Legilimens, which means she has the power to read minds, so this could allow her to see what her opponent's thinking and give her an edge during combat. Professor Trelawney launched crystal balls at her enemies during the Battle of Hogwarts, one of them hitting an unsuspecting Fenrir Greyback, knocking him out. Pious Thickness was the Minister of Magic for a short time as Voldemort's puppet, put under the Imperious Curse by the Death Eater Yaxley. In the Battle of Hogwarts, he lost to Percy in a duel twice, once in a one-on-one, and once with Percy getting help from his father. Fleur Delacour, later known as Fleur Weasley, was a contestant in the Triwizard Tournament, and fought in the Battle of the Seven Potters and the Battle of Hogwarts. In the film, she was stunned by Victor Krum in the third task, which is why I put—
Yo, it's crazy though, because that bitch really had a glow up. Because everyone treated her like she was a whore, like she was like a terrible person. And she was like, fuck that. She put in work anyway, man. Loki, one of the goats? Low-key? Lowest of keesiest?
put him above her. Cedric Diggory defeated the brainwashed Krum, so he goes above him. Though in the books, Krum was actually torturing Cedric with the Cruciatus Curse before Harry came and stunned him. But Krum got the drop on Cedric, so I think going off the more fair fight in the movie makes more sense.
I was arguing, it's crazy Weeaboo says this. Hold on. Weeaboo, I'm on your ass, bro. Respectfully. We had argued, and it sucks. Because it'd be funnier if, like, it just was, like, recorded, or recorded properly, basically. But, dude, you were defending Cedric about being a bum yesterday, about being a jobber. You're like, he's not a jobber, he's pretty good. I was like, dude, he's definitely a jobber. Well, here you have it. Jobbing bum. You brought up a feat, I forgot he took an L.
Crabbe and Goyle were able to use Avada Kedavra and Fiendfire, with Crabbe being the one to use them in the book, and Goyle being the one to use them in the movie. Fiendfire is particularly powerful and can even destroy Horcruxes, but they can't control it, and it leads to their death. Cedric Diggory doesn't fare well against the Killing Curse, which is why I put those two above him. The twins Parvati and Padma Patil were Dumbledore's army members and skilled duelists, with Parvati dueling the Death Eater Travers in the Battle of Hogwarts, managing to shoot a spell at another Death Eater during the fight. Neville Longbottom started off hopeless in combat, but after training with Dumbledore's army, he improved significantly, and near the end of his 5th year at Hogwarts, he stunned a Death Eater with the same spell that once stunned him in his 1st year.
Hey, I don't care though. I'll beat Neville's ass. Neville's a bum. Neville stays take L's.
Near the end of the Battle of Hogwarts, he defeated Fenrir Greyback along with Ron. Luna Lovegood also defeated a Death Eater in her 5th year, and in her 7th she dueled Bellatrix Lestrange to a standstill with the help of Hermione and Ginny. Draco Malfoy has shown he's adept in the use of the Imperious Curse and can use the Cruciatus Curse as well. He gave Harry some trouble in a duel during their 6th year,
as well as temporarily held his own against him in the Deathly Hallows Part 1 film.
He was essentially Harry's rival, was the leader of his Slytherin gang, and was one of the best Quidditch players in the school, so it makes sense for him to be at the top of the high student tier. And if I didn't put him there, his father would have heard about it. The low professor tiers for characters above the average adult.
So, this is actually really fucking well done, by the way, so far. I'm enjoying the shit out of this. I'm curious to see how he proceeds with the rest of the ranking. I do think Ron and Neville beating Fenrir was fucking crazy. They had no business doing that. Fenrir was a bad boy.
Adult wizard. Professor Umbridge is the worst teacher Hogwarts has ever seen. It's only fitting to put her at the bottom of low professor. She used her magic to keep her students in line and can blow through walls with the spell Bombarda Maxima. In the movie, she was able to react to an arrow from a centaur and easily defeated him, seemingly having the situation under control. Though in the book, she was overwhelmed by the herd, even without the interference of Grom. Professor Quirrell, another trash professor, was adept in nonverbal and wandless magic, creating fire with a snap of his finger in the movie and tying Harry up with a rope in the book. He was confident he would have succeeded in killing Harry on his broom, even with Snape trying to stop him with his counter curse. His combat feats consist of defeating a large troll, killing a unicorn, and flying up to and choking a child. So overall, he isn't that impressive. He even called himself weak, and I would venture he was right, considering he couldn't even stop an 11-year-old boy from touching him. Voldemort described him as young, foolish, and gullible to his other followers on the night he had his powers restored, and Snape called him a mediocre wizard. So I think it's likely Quirrell's below most accomplished Death Eaters. Leta Lestrange managed to knock back one of Grindelwald's top followers, Vinda Rosier, with a spell. But she was kind of taken off guard, and Vinda's only feat was failing to kill a Qilin with one spell. Narcissa Malfoy wasn't afraid to stand up to her sister Bellatrix, using a spell to get her off of her. She was likely skilled in occlumency, since Voldemort could not tell she was lying when she said Harry Potter was dead.
Hey, I don't give a fuck what anybody said. Anyone willing to swing on Bellatrix Lestrange is a crazy bitch. These are the facts. Shout out to John Skullcap for the donation, showing love for the videos and what we do here. I appreciate you, Skullcap, and I hope you are there when our first big podcast comes out with the round table. Not really sure what we're going to call it yet, but like I said, it's other content creators like this that make amazing shit. So it's going to be a really fun podcast.
She dueled Harry and Ron along with her son, but she looked more confident than Draco and fired a spell at Harry even though Ron was her main opponent, meaning she was likely covering for her son. Ron was driving her back, so I put him during the events of the Deathly Hallows above her. Ron stunned the skilled Death Eater Yaxley and later disarmed him while not even looking. He also disarmed Bellatrix, though she was off guard. He took out a Death Eater mid-flight, which impressed Tonks and Hermione, defeated a couple Snatchers while outnumbered 5-1, helped take out some Death Eaters in the Battle of Hogwarts, and took down Fenrir Greyback with the help of Neville. He can also cast the Imperious Curse. When he's confident in himself, he's shown he can be very successful, such as his performance as a keeper in Quidditch when he thought he had taken Liquid Marvel, but his arrogance can sometimes get the best of him as well, like when Hermione trounced him in a duel. Ginny seemed all around superior to her brother in both Quidditch and spellcasting. Out of the Dumbledore's army members, her raw power was the most impressive with her mastery of the Reductor Curse. During her 4th year, she defeated Draco with her signature Bogey Hex, with Ron admitting she was the best out of him, Neville, and Luna in that particular encounter. In her 5th year, Slughorn saw her use the Bogey Hex and wanted her in the Slug Club, something Ron wasn't invited to. In the 6th film, she held off Bellatrix, Greyback, and another Death Eater with the help of Harry for a short time. And in the 7th book, she fought Bellatrix to a stalemate with the help of Hermione and Luna. Fred and George should be about the same level as each other, with Fred dueling and defeating a Death Eater, and George defeating the Death Eater Yaxley with the help of Lee Jordan. Percy Weasley defeated the Minister of Magic Pius Thickness in a duel, making him seemingly turn into some form of sea urchin. And he was fighting alongside his brother Fred, so it would make sense for him to go a tier above Pius, and be in the same tier as Fred. His older brother Bill Weasley was an Order of the Phoenix member, taking part in the Battle of the Astronomy Tower, the Battle of the Seven Potters, and the Battle of Hogwarts. His occupation was a curse breaker, which means he's skilled in counter curses. Fenrir Greyback is the werewolf that turned Lupin, and even in his human form he has a beastly appearance, with sharp teeth and nails that he can use to—
Fenrir was such a problem. Like, the reason, and shout out to Weeaboo, he's got to tune out, but shout out to him for tuning in for this stream. He's going to watch the rest later. Fenrir, I might have a little, I don't know. I understand there's a couple times people caught him off guard. I'm not too in love with, in this series, Ron and Neville managing to take him down. But still, he was doing a lot of fucking damage. He fucked a lot of lives up. He was running through people. He's super dangerous as a werewolf wizard hybrid. It takes multiple stun spells to hurt. He's fucking
maul his prey. He tore Bill's face up during the Battle of the Astronomy Tower and killed Lavender Brown during the Battle of Hogwarts. He manhandled Ollivander, blocked a spell from 6th year Harry, helped destroy the Weasley home, and was one of the Death Eaters who destroyed the Muggle Bridge in the movie. He wasn't given the honor of getting the Dark Mark, and bullied by the other Death Eaters, so I believe he should be below most of the known Death Eaters. Peter Pettigrew, also known as Wormtail, was able to murder Cedric and stomp 4th year hair.
Wormtail versus Fenrir Greyback. We need that shit. Hold up. Do I need to do that battle? Wormtail versus Greyback? Hold on. I might have to.
He cast a spell that created a powerful explosion, killing 12 muggles in a 20-foot radius of him, and created a deep crater. Seeing this led Fudge to believe only trained hit wizards would stand a chance against the person who cast it, and that Hagrid wouldn't have been able to take care of him, which could scale Peter higher than where I placed him. At the very least, I think this shows Fudge would be below him. However, Peter is a coward, and McGonagall said he was always hopeless at dueling, though this was in reference to him as a kid and before they knew he was the one who actually caused the explosion. Similar to Greyback, he seemed to be treated as a second-class Death Eater, but he has the Dark Mark and better feats overall, so I put him above Greyback, but kept him below the other named Death Eaters. Walden McNair was the executioner who was gonna kill Buckbeak, and he was also a Death Eater. He was an extremely large and strong man, able to almost completely lift 15-year-old Harry off the ground, choking him with one hand. He would have killed him if Neville didn't jab a wand in his eye. Amicus and Alecto Caro are sibling Death Eaters who ended up teaching at Hogwarts while Snape was headmaster, teaching the kids spells like Crucio and Fiendfire. Amicus seemed to have the edge over Ginny during the end of her 5th year, while she was under the effects of Felix Felicis. Thorfinn Rowell's a bit of a spaz, and likes to spam spells like a madman, which made him the most dangerous enemy during the Battle of the Astronomy Tower. But this is also a negative, because he ended up accidentally killing his own teammate. He was quickly stunned by Harry in the 7th film, so while he's a big threat in a multi-person battle, to both sides actually, I think in a 1v1 duel, he's one of the weaker named Death Eaters. Dean Thomas was skilled enough to duel Dullahob, one of the most deadly Death Eaters,
Dullahob was a
for at least a short period of time. And during that duel, he was able to knock out another Death Eater after he was temporarily distracted, showing his quick wit in battle. Though Dean may have been taken out there by Dullahob if Parvati hadn't covered him. Hermione Granger is arguably the most skilled witch of her generation, with her vast amount of knowledge and quick wit leading some to believe she might even be more powerful than Harry. For example, she was the one who saved their group from falling to their deaths in Gringotts. In her 5th year, she easily defeated Ron and stunned 2 Death Eaters. In her would-be 7th year, she disarmed Mundungus as well as Draco Malfoy, took out 2 Snatchers with 1 spell, blasted back Fenrir Greyback, and stunned Dullahob, though he was outnumbered. Like I mentioned twice
in the book, Hermione was about to kill Greyback. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. She was ready. Once she saw he had fucked up Lavender, she was like, fuck that. And she rocked his shit.
Already, she was able to stalemate Bellatrix with Ginny and Luna by her side. The mid-professor tier is for characters that are powerful enough to take on multiple standard Aurors or Death Eaters. Dobby the House Elf is skilled with wandless magic, being able to perform telekinesis, operate in and out of locations wizards can't, and charm objects such as bludgers to make them attack people. Combat-wise, he was able to blast back Lucius Malfoy, disarm his wife Narcissa, and knock out Wormtail from behind. Unfortunately for Dobby, none of these opponents were directly focusing on him, so the feats aren't as impressive as they initially seem. Aragog and Acromantulas in general are next. In the game Hogwarts Legacy, a house elf was killed by an Acromantula, and admitted himself that the large spider was too much for him. In the book, Aragog was described as being the size of a small elephant, and if their large size wasn't enough, they also seemed to be spell resistant, as another large spider that was likely an Acromantula was able to tank multiple spells from Harry and Cedric, only finally going down after they hit it at the same time. In the film, Slughorn asked Hagrid how he managed to kill one, indicating even a wizard of Slughorn's caliber considers them a major threat. According to a Hogwarts Legacy field guide page, the venom of an Acromantula is extremely poisonous. To make matters worse, these giant spiders have near human level intelligence. Fluffy the giant 3-headed dog was larger than even the biggest of elephants, and I think his size and strength would be too much for Aragog. Aragog's venom would be his only chance, but as he's trying to envenomate one head, the other two will be tearing him apart. So unless his venom works instantly...
One thing we've been doing with this tier list is activating the fucking versus battle part of my mind. As a content creator.
Become Fluffy's chew toy. Quirrell is forced to put Fluffy to sleep to get past him, and he easily defeated a troll bigger than the one Harry, Ron, and Hermione dealt with. Hagrid also implied Fluffy would be harder to handle than a dragon. Zobus may be smaller than Fluffy, but they're incredibly fast and powerful, being able to travel 1,000 miles in a day, and can take you from one part of Paris to the next in a single leap. They also have the ability to teleport, and can do so in places that even wizards can't. Rubeus Hagrid being this high may be a surprise to some of you movie-only fans, but Hagrid in the books is an actual beast. His half-giant blood makes him resistant to spells and incredibly powerful, defeating multiple Aurors simultaneously as they were all firing spells at him. He even tanked repeated curses from the Death Eater Raoul, who would have no reason to hold back, and defeated the Death Eater McNair. One badass moment I would like to mention is when Hagrid straight up jumped off his flying bike to tackle a Death Eater midair. Another crazy feat is how he managed to go into Aragog's spider den, pick up his small elephant-sized dead body, and leave with it alive with an army of giant spiders trying to eat him. Now it makes sense how Hagrid could deal with all those dangerous creatures. It's a shame the movies excluded these moments, even having Hagrid getting knocked out by a single spell. In the films he still had a few cool scenes, like when he bent a barrel of a gun with his bare hands, and it took multiple Death Eaters to keep him restrained. We also can't forget that Hagrid is a wizard that can cast spells, including non-verbal ones, which is something Hogwarts students aren't trained to master until their 6th year, and even then apparently not all wizards can do it, so I would say even movie Hagrid should at least be high student tier. Grop was Hagrid's half-brother and was full giant, standing 16 feet tall, which is actually short for giants, with their average height being at least 20 feet tall. Despite this, he was able to clash with other giants on equal footing, even taking on multiple at once with the help of Buckbeak and some Thestrals. Due to this, pretty much all giants are represented by this spot as well. A giant forced Harry, Ron, and Hermione to retreat even though they were easily taking down Death Eaters, though it was implied Hermione might have been able to stun the giant. You could actually argue Hagrid above giants, or at least Grop, since he forced Grop against his will to leave his home and tied him to a tree in the Forbidden Forest. But I decided against it as we don't really know how hard Grop truly fought back, and from what we've seen, it didn't seem that hard, yet he still managed to knock around Hagrid and injure him. It would probably be a close fight, with the full giants having the size and strength advantage, and Hagrid having the magical advantage. Madame Maxine would also likely be around here since she's a half-giant like Hagrid, and should also be a powerful wizard considering she's a headmistress of a school. Barty Crouch Jr. managed to defeat Mad-Eye Moody with the help of Wormtail, and was skilled enough to pretend to be him for an entire school year. This is impressive as Moody was arguably the best Auror of recent times, but since it was a 2v1 and Barty got restrained...
Me and Weeaboo argued during the podcast last night about if Moody's a fucking bum. I personally think he is. What do you guys think in the comments?
By his own house elf and couldn't break free on his own, I kept him in this tier. Arthur Weasley was an Order of the Phoenix member who fought in the Battle of the Seven Potters and the Battle of Hogwarts, where he was made one of the team leaders. He battled and likely defeated multiple Death Eaters and considered himself a match for Lucius Malfoy, his rival, who I put right next to him. Lucius seemed to be the Death Eater in charge of getting Harry's prophecy, even having some command over Bellatrix.
Which was weird.
GoDaddy is
I
a
always
partner that
found
always puts
Bellatrix
you
to be a
first.
lot more capable. I know the
Start
bitch
today
is
at
crazy.
GoDaddy.com.
Doesn't have the money and resources.
Use Haverty's free
But
design
at the
service
same
to
time,
explore
you
your
know what I mean?
options and happify your home with confidence.
He easily blocked spells from Harry and his friends, blocked a surprise spell from Tonks, and possibly dueled Lupin after Remus came in between him and Potter. In the movie, he lasted longer than Dullahob in their 2v2 duel against Harry and Sirius. Nymphadora,
Don't call me Nymphadora.
I mean Tonks, is another member of the Order of the Phoenix, as well as an Auror, though she admits she's below Kingsley and a bit clumsy. She's fought Raoul and has survived multiple battles with the strongest of Voldemort's followers, her aunt Bellatrix Lestrange. Her husband Remus Lupin is next to her. He was a master of the Patronus charm, which is above ordinary wizarding level.
Hold up, that was fucked
and he's
up.
defeated numerous
Saying that while showing them dead is crazy. I get they're together in that shot, but that was crazy, bro. That was crazy.
Death Eaters, coming out alive from many battles. Well, until he didn't. Augustus Rookwood was skilled enough to duel with Kingsley, the most skilled Auror at the time, and was implied to be the one who killed Fred. His ancestor Victor Rookwood would also likely be in this tier. Corbin Yaxley was one of the strongest Death Eaters, being able to duel Professor Flitwick for a time, but him getting defeated by George Weasley and Lee Jordan limited him from being placed in the tier above. Professor Horace Slughorn dueled Voldemort himself with the help of McGonagall and Kingsley. This alone is enough to get him to this tier, but since this is his only feat, I don't think it's enough to place him in the tier above. Theseus Commander was the head Auror of England during his time, and was skilled enough to defeat a multitude of Grindelwald's followers coming at him at once. He was strong enough to block Grindelwald's fire created by the Elder Wand that was killing other Aurors. His younger brother Newt Scamander wasn't an Auror, but he was skilled enough for the Ministry to want him to become one, and was their first choice for the job of tracking down and killing Credence. He's a skilled fighter, being able to integrate beasts such as the Swooping Evil into his fighting style. This particular beast can reflect spells with its body and is highly venomous. This fighting style even allowed Newt to restrain Grindelwald, though Grindelwald wasn't focused on him and didn't have the Elder Wand at the time. Harry Potter has gone through more during his school years than most will in a lifetime.
Oh, I
And
don't
by
think
sep-
Harry can beat Newt. I actually don't. I might make a video on that, but I don't think he can.
7th year, he was already a veteran fighter. By the time of his 3rd year, it seemed he could already conjure a more powerful Patronus than Lupin. During his 5th year, he was so far beyond everybody, his classmates asked him to teach them defensive magic, with even the extremely knowledgeable Hermione and older Weasley twins deferring to his expertise. During that year, he managed to land the Cruciatus Curse on Bellatrix, and arguably could have defeated her then if he managed to properly use the spell, though it was made pretty clear he wasn't on her level at the time. He has even gone up against the Big Bad himself, clashing with Voldemort as early as his 4th year, and having an extremely extended duel with him during their final battle at Hogwarts in the final movie. In the books, he used his invisibility cloak to his advantage multiple times, stunning unsuspecting enemies. Even without the cloak, he stunned one of the Carrows at the end of his 6th year. Overall, Harry in the books and movies seem to be above the average Death Eater, but still not on the level of the top-tiered ones. The high Professor tiers for elite wizards such as top-of-the-line Aurors and Death Eaters.
Alright, let's see what
The Thunderbird has the power to create...
Although I think Newt should be a little higher on this list.
thunderstorms, and Newt said if it escaped, things could have gotten quite catastrophic. It doesn't have any combat feats, and I ran out of room, so it didn't make it on the final list, but it would probably be somewhere around here. Graphorns are extremely aggressive and are known to scar trolls. They have a hide even tougher than a dragon's, and can repel most spells. Graphorns are one of the strongest creatures you can fight in Hogwarts Legacy, and they smash through barriers and wizards alike. Harry's parents, James and Lily Potter, were powerful wizards and members of the original Order of the Phoenix. James seemed to be the leader of his friend group, with both Sirius and Lupin holding him in high esteem, and his wife Lily was stated to be a gifted witch and one of Slughorn's best students. Most importantly, she was the cause of Voldemort's first defeat. Amelia Bones was the head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement and such a gifted witch that when she was killed, the Ministry believed Voldemort did it himself, and the evidence showed that she put up a real fight. She put up a better fight than James did.
I forgot
it's
about
worth
that.
noting James didn't have his wand on him at the time he was killed. Gunnar Grimston was a skilled bounty hunter who trapped Nagini in a wall, non-verbally cast Avada Kedavra, and held off Credence's Obscurus for an extended period of time. Yusuf Kama was able to take out a large amount of Grindelwald followers with a single spell. Professor Lally Hicks was stated to have superb defensive magic by Dumbledore himself, and she backed this up when she sent an entire group of wizards running, and some flying, with a storm she created, as well as when she defeated a bunch of Grindelwald's followers fighting alongside Theseus.
I fell asleep
Dina
during
Goldstein
this
was
part.
the head Auror of the United States and blocked a spell from Theseus from behind and quickly stomped him. She was able to hold her own for a bit against Grindelwald when he wasn't using the Elder Wand. Kingsley Shacklebolt was the best active Auror during the time of the Harry Potter books. He dueled 2 Death Eaters at once, and later
Agreed.
beat Rookwood during the Battle of the Ministry. During the Battle of the 7 Potters, he was chased by 5 Death Eaters, took down 2, possibly killing 1, and was chased by Voldemort for a bit, but still managed to make it out alive. He was one of the 3 that dueled Lord Voldemort in the Battle of Hogwarts. Kingsley may have been the best Auror of his time, but Mad-Eye Moody was the best Auror of all time, so Kingsley was just lucky he was retired. Out of the people participating in the Battle of the 7 Potters, it was pretty much directly implied Voldemort himself considered Mad-Eye to be the strongest, and Kingsley second. Moody basically filled
I
half the
thought that
cells
was
of Azkaban,
incorrect, though.
and one person he sent was Igor Karkaroff, who ended up becoming the headmaster of Durmstrang. Antonin Dolohov defeated Moody during the Battle of the Ministry. His signature spell is a purple flame created from a slash of his wand that took out Hermione and knocked back Harry even while using Protego. He was about to use it on Sirius before Harry stunned him.
This game, you're not ready for it.
Professor Phileas Flitwick was a dueling champion and managed to defeat Dolohov. Sirius Black dueled Lucius Malfoy and Dolohov at the same time, taking Dolohov out. Granted he had Harry to back him up, but 15-year-old Harry was likely the weakest link in that fight. Sirius then quickly dispatched Lucius in a fair 1v1. In the book he seemed confident when dueling Bellatrix, throwing out provocations, but his overconfidence cost him his life. Bellatrix Lestrange was stated to be Voldemort's best lieutenant, and her feats backed
Fun fact, I'm a Bellatrix stan after I grew up because I realized that bitch was an amazing villain. But Sirius, when he died in the books, the way it was described when I was little reading it, I was like, I didn't know he fucking died for a minute. It took a couple chapters before I realized that bitch was dead. I swear she didn't use the word dead at all.
this up. She defeated Tonks, Kingsley, and Sirius back-to-back at the Ministry, and blocked a spell from Dumbledore. She stomped Fenrir Greyback, Scabier, and 2 other Snatchers simultaneously, and was able to stalemate Hermione, Ginny, and Luna at the same time in the final book. Molly Weasley was able to finally put an end to her lunacy, killing her in a 1v1 duel. Though it's worth noting Bellatrix didn't have her original wand in the Battle of Hogwarts and was cocky fighting Molly just as Sirius had been to her previously. Minerva McGonagall was Deputy Headmistress, later Headmistress of Hogwarts, and she was able to perform a spell faster than Harry could believe when fighting Snape, and Harry had fought Bellatrix before. Madame Pomfrey thought that 4 Aurors working together wouldn't have been able to stun McGonagall in a fair fight. In the book, she sent Electo Carrow running with her arms over her head, and in the movie, her deflected spells one-shot the Carrows. As I mentioned before, Minerva was one of the 3 who fought together against Lord Voldemort. Severus Snape blocked the spell from McGonagall that Harry couldn't believe the speed of, and his defense was so quick it threw Minerva off balance. What's even more impressive was that it was a surprise attack.
Yep.
In the movie, McGonagall seemingly forced Snape to retreat, but in the book he didn't run until Flitwick, Sprout, and Slughorn showed up, and even countered Flitwick's spell. But he was really on their side the entire time, so he would have been holding back and wouldn't have actually wanted to hurt them.
Agreed.
He probably even purposefully diverted McGonagall's spells into the Carrows. At the end of the Half-Blood Prince, he deflected every spell from Harry easily and almost lazily, while Bellatrix was tagged by a year younger Harry by one of the same spells Snape blocked. I think this directly scales Snape above her. Not to mention he was the only one of Voldemort's followers who learned unassisted flight, which is a big deal in the books unlike the movies, where almost everyone can seemingly fly without a broom. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child was the head Auror of England and was able to match Voldemort's daughter Delphi's spell, and fiercely exchange blows with her despite her watching Harry for years in preparation for this fight. The only other person he fought in the play was Draco, who was able to have a pretty even fight with him, though Harry didn't want to fight and Malfoy did. Draco was also stated to have gotten better, but Potter worse, though Draco might have meant worse than when Harry was an Auror in his prime, not when he was in school, and he was likely just making fun of him anyways. Regardless, a prime Harry should be in this tier, and a prime Draco probably would be as well. The beast tiers for characters and creatures above the level any regular wizard can really hope to achieve. Nagini was able to defeat Arthur Weasley as well as Harry and Hermione at the same time. She's a Horcrux and is protected because of that, so spells bounce off of her. And Harry's wand was even destroyed due to a spell backfiring off of her.
Damn.
It seems she might even be resistant to Avada Kedavra, so she would probably just bull rush through any spells and strike her victim to death. She also has venom that keeps wounds open. Dragons are some of the mightiest creatures in the Harry Potter world, with the ability to fly and shoot fire. It was stated by Sirius that it takes about half a dozen wizards at a time to overcome one. Their eyes are their weak point, and a conjunctivitis curse is an effective means of defense, but it won't be enough to put it down, just temporarily blind it. The Hebridean Black is the species of dragon seen in Hogwarts Legacy. It's supposed to only grow up to 30 feet in length, but it was clearly upsized in Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, that shit's fucking huge. I haven't beaten it. I'm about to go play this shit after the stream.
The dragon guarding Gringotts is a Ukrainian ironbelly, which is the largest dragon species in the world. None of the wizard guards or goblins could stop it as it broke free from the bank. The Hungarian Horntail is stated to be the most dangerous dragon breed by Newt Scamander himself, and it also has the longest fire-breathing range. It's stated that there's no creature more deadly than the basilisk. Anyone that looks into its eyes instantly dies, and its venom is highly toxic, being able to kill in minutes. It can even destroy Horcruxes, meaning Nagini isn't safe. Acromantulas such as Aragog fear basilisks above all others, and won't even speak its name. Nothing instills fear in a basilisk but a rooster, as its crow is fatal to it. But I think there's another creature the basilisk should fear.
What a weakness.
The Manticore from the Fantastic Beasts movie is huge and can attack without need for a visual on its target, using its large stingers that shoot out lava to pierce its prey. The final boss of Hogwarts Legacy, Ranrock, after absorbing the power from the final repository, became a powerful dragon fueled on the power of ancient magic. He should be more powerful than any of the beasts or wizards below, but not the Weeaboo Warrior. If you guys weren't aware, I was isekai'd into the wizarding world of Harry Potter as a 5th year student of Hogwarts, and I quickly acquired power, learning the unforgivable curses, and mastering ancient magic, becoming the strongest character in the verse at the time. I used my magic to come back to this world to try and take over, but I unfortunately lost all my magic the second I came back, so I'm back to making YouTube videos. Aberforth Dumbledore had a 3-way duel with his brother Albus and Grindelwald when they were younger, and later stopped Grindelwald's Avada Kedavra with the Elder Wand along with his brother, reacting at the same speed as Albus, with literally everyone around them standing there like statues, including Theseus, Lally, and Yusuf. This at bare minimum puts him a tier above them. He also showed off the biggest Patronus we've seen in the films, getting rid of an army of Dementors by himself, with Kingsley just standing there doing nothing, indicating to me that Aberforth is likely a level above him. His son Credence is a powerful wizard, just like his father and uncle, being able to blast apart the side of a mountain the first time he got a wand. He also has an Obscurus within him that has the power to blow apart large buildings. He learned to control this power and used it to fight Dumbledore. Grindelwald believed him to be the only one with the power to kill Albus Dumbledore. Delphine, also known as Delphi, was the daughter of Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange. Like her father, she has the ability to fly without a broom and speak to snakes. She outdueled Harry, disarming him, with it being stated she's far stronger. Harry even admits he isn't stronger than her. It took the combined might of an adult Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, and Draco to take her down, with the fight being described as titanic. But she admits herself Voldemort is superior to her, and she reveres him, so I don't think she's quite on his level. The headmaster tier is for the strongest of the verse, who pretty much nobody can match, even in large groups. The Nundu is arguably the most dangerous creature in the world. It has never taken less than 100 skilled wizards working together to subdue one, and they have breath virulent enough to eliminate entire villages. Grindelwald, even without a wand, could stomp Newt and Tina at the same time. With just a regular wand, he was able to take on a massive group of Aurors, and was winning before Newt intervened. With the Elder Wand, he was able to cast a powerful fire spell that killed multiple Aurors, and was going to burn down all of Paris if not stopped.
See?
He also had the ability to somewhat look into the future, and this could help him prepare for battle. He easily stomped Credence, which solidifies him being in a tier above him. Dumbledore also easily dealt with Credence, and was able to match Grindelwald even though his ex-lover was in possession of the most powerful wand in existence. Dumbledore later defeats Grindelwald in what was said to be the greatest duel ever fought, which directly scales him higher. Lord Voldemort has multiple statements saying he's the most dangerous and powerful dark wizard of all time, which also directly scales him above Grindelwald. Now me putting him above Dumbledore is much more contentious. Both of these two men are powerful wizards, but Voldemort was willing to partake in magic Dumbledore wasn't. He created Horcruxes to make himself immortal, so to finish Voldemort off, he would have to have all of his Horcruxes destroyed first. Dumbledore tried to do this, but ended up being fatally cursed by one of them. You could even argue Voldemort's just straight up stronger, as in the 5th film, he and Dumbledore seemed to be equally matched in a back and forth duel, but Dumbledore had the Elder Wand, which gave him an advantage. When Voldemort attained the Elder Wand, he performed the greatest magical power feat in the entire series.
I do think this is important to note. You can argue how much this, I'm not going to say disability, but inability mattered. He had to protect Harry at the time. That was a big deal. He was constantly deflecting shit for Harry.
Taking down the protective shield over Hogwarts with a single spell, when hundreds if not thousands of spells from his Death Eaters weren't even putting a dent in it. This was done when he wasn't even the true master of the Elder Wand, and it was resisting him. He was also stated to be the most accomplished Legilimens the world has ever seen, and can invade and control people's minds, giving them visions to torture them into madness. When you look at all this together, I believe Voldemort holds the title as the most powerful wizard in the Harry Potter universe, though I do believe Dumbledore could have held that title if he wanted to and decided to go as far as Tom did to achieve power.
I think the creator of Dementors potentially was stronger.
We've come to the end of this wizarding adventure. If you want more Harry Potter content from me, go check out my gaming channel, The Weeaboo Gaming Warrior, where my time in the Harry Potter universe was documented for you all to enjoy.
Not too shabby of a list, man. This was a fucking amazing video. Now we are going to move on to another member's video. Make sure to hit the like button on this. I'll hit the like on that motherfucker. Hold up. We about to slide on him. Let's hit the like on it. Alright. Boom. Yeah, make sure to go check it out, man. Alright. Next one. My boy, Zero. A.K.A. co-host of Kato. Craziest retcons in Naruto. Let's see how it's popping.
It's inevitable that some things just won't make sense. The fact that it works as well as it does is a testament to Kishimoto's skill as a mangaka, yet there are some inconsistencies in the series that are a little jarring when you do finally notice them. For a of episodes, it's inevitable that some things just won't make sense. The fact that it works as well as it does is a testament to Kishimoto's skill as a mangaka, yet there are some inconsistencies in the series that are a little jarring when you do finally notice them. My name is Zero, this is Kato, and today let's talk about some of the biggest retcons in Naruto. This video is brought to you by our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Sending
It's
data
not Kato,
over
it's
an
Kato,
unencrypted
by the
internet
way.
connection
My
is like
fault,
playing
my
chess
fault.
against Mao from Code Geass. You're leaving yourself wide open and having all of your secrets exposed. Whenever you're connected to an unencrypted internet connection on your phone,
Oh my god, he's so much better at
tablet,
editing.
TV, etc.,
Oh, fuck.
you're sending countless pieces of information out into the digital
We're getting
world
styled
that can
on
be
in
seen
4K.
and intercepted by many different parties before they get to their intended destinations. But a VPN, or virtual private network, creates a secure tunnel between your device and the internet. If hackers
what
are
up?
Geass users in this analogy, then
he's a
having a
monster.
VPN is like getting a
Oh my
Geass
God.
counselor. In other words,
believe
it's
he
like
watches
wrapping
my
your
shit. I
computer
edit
in a
with
set of armor so that no one can attack its vulnerabilities. Your private information will be
I
completely
approve
protected.
that message.
But
We're
it's
gonna
not just
skip
about
to the
security.
Naruto stuff.
I
Get
personally use
ExpressVPN. Go
ExpressVPN
shout
to
out.
get
Shout out to
is
his
the tail
sponsorship.
beasts. Isn't it weird that they don't really explain how tail beasts are different from giant summons like Gamabunta until deep into the war arc? In part 1, we're left to ask ourselves how they choose which monsters get sealed, and we assume that some just have a bad attitude or something. You see, initially, the tailed beasts weren't presented as a set of 9 monsters like the Kyuubi. In the early chapters of Naruto, the audience was told that Naruto actually is the nine-tailed fox in the form of a young boy, and that he might turn back to his old self at some point. That was why the Nine Tails disappeared when Naruto was born. But shortly into the series proper, it becomes not that Naruto is the seal, but that the nine-tailed fox was sealed inside of Naruto when he was born. So Naruto...
Interesting. I don't know if people would try. I'm gonna try to slip into the mind of Naruto fanboys, right? They might try to argue this was just a purview of mindless villagers that were trying to hate on some shit, not the purview of those who actually know and are well versed on the knowledge of how the Kyuubi work. I don't know.
Naruto had a demon, and Gaara had his own demon. In the Chunin exams, Gaara's tailed beast, Shukaku, was even referred to as the spirit of a former elder of the Sand Village, implying that he was human at one point before he became, again this is a quote, an incarnation of sand. Nothing in Gaara's description mentioned Shukaku being a tailed beast. There wasn't really any lore about these monsters being part of a bigger family. For instance, Shukaku obviously knows the Nine Tails pretty well, they're basically brothers. But at this point in the series, that lore hadn't been planned out yet. So when Naruto used the transformation jutsu on Gamabunta to turn him into the Nine Tails in front of Shukaku, Shukaku's reaction was, well, much smaller than it should have been. You'd think the talkative One Tails would have some kind of vocal reaction at seeing its sibling and rival right in front of it, but
Yeah, that's fair. That's fucking fair.
The Doritos Cool Ranch Papadilla. It's the best idea ever.
Yeah, it was like
The Doritos
almost
Cool
like a
Ranch
first time interaction. That was kind of the
But
vibe
of course
you
he doesn't. Of course, this retcon was a brilliantly seamless change. Naruto and Gaara had so much in common that connecting them in this way made perfect sense to the audience and didn't feel like a change in the first place. It was also a good idea to make Gaara another target of the Akatsuki. This one is probably my favorite retcon of this video. Another retcon is to do with the third Hokage. When the third was introduced, the series went out of its way to say that he was the strongest ninja alive, the strongest ever. He was the god of shinobi, with other statements implying that he even surpassed all of the prior Hokage. This is then reinforced during the actual Sand Invasion. Hiruzen took out both the first and second Hokage, so surely that means he was the strongest, right? We later find out that Hiruzen was strong, but he doesn't really hold a candle to Hashirama, who is as close to a god as you can get without at least 6 paths power. Without venturing into power scalar territory, I think there's a good argument to be made that even the second Hokage was probably stronger than Hiruzen was, which makes the whole god of shinobi thing seem odd, doesn't it? This one is more understandable. Hiruzen died at the beginning of Naruto, and I'm guessing that all of this was just to make his death more meaningful and impactful. We can also explain it away by saying that the villagers were just hyping Hiruzen up with recency bias. In retrospect, Hiruzen being called the god of shinobi is really a statement about how the Leaf Village has been weakening for decades. Presumably, as the power ceiling got raised higher and higher in Shippuden, it didn't really make sense for Hiruzen to be as strong as he was previously stated to be. The Hiruzen stuff leads us to another retcon, one that really stuck out to me as a kid the first time I watched Naruto. This is weird for many reasons.
I'll be honest, I like Naruto a lot. Obviously, most of us like Naruto. But it does feel like, especially when it comes to the relation of Hokage lore, they kind of just did a lot of shit with Hokage lore that contradicts or is kind of vague or weird in its own way.
Orochimaru versus Hiruzen fight, Orochimaru used the Edo Tensei to summon 2 caskets. These had the first and second Hokage. Then he pulled out the third casket, and I think it's pretty obviously implied that this was supposed to be the 4th Hokage. Hiruzen even goes out of his way to make sure that Orochimaru can't summon this one specifically, blocking it out when he didn't block the other 2. As a first-time watcher, this raised all sorts of questions about just how powerful the 4th Hokage must have been if Hiruzen reacted this way. If Hiruzen surpassed the first 2 Hokage, which was implied to be the case, and he's afraid of the 4th, that should mean that the 4th was the strongest Hokage ever. As an adult, years later, well, this entire sequence just makes no sense at all. Again, for multiple reasons. We all know that Minato sacrificed himself with the Reaper Death Seal, meaning that he couldn't have been summoned by Edo Tensei in the first place. Yet Hiruzen reacted to the third casket as if he knew specifically who would be inside it. This entire sequence just doesn't make any sense. One of the surprisingly rare, legitimate plot holes in Naruto. Orochimaru had to be summoning someone both very powerful and someone Hiruzen would be very familiar with. It couldn't have been the 4th Kazekage, that would mean Hiruzen feared him more than Hashirama. Unlike other retcons where we do get some kind of alternative explanation hundreds of chapters down the line, this is one that the series apparently just forgot. At least I definitely don't remember this ever being brought up again, which I suppose is one way to deal with a continuity issue. We have to just assume Hiruzen panicked and made a mistake, which is weird. And in retrospect, it's weird that he's more afraid of Minato than Hashirama, with what we know about the scaling now. I know we've talked a lot about the Chunin exams, and it doesn't end there. When the Sound Village attacked, they cast a genjutsu over all of the people in the stadium. Sakura was one of the only genin who broke herself out of it, which made Kakashi remark that she had a talent for genjutsu.
Yeah, that bitch
Now,
did nothing
storytelling-wise,
with that
I think this is a pretty obvious setup for Sakura eventually actually learning some genjutsu of her own. Instead, this point is never brought up again. Sakura trained directly under Asanin, and it seems odd that even Tsunade never thought to actually brush up on her disciples' natural talents. But in a way she did. Sakura's talents were her proficient chakra control that even surpassed Sasuke, and her intellect and studious nature. Those are listed as the 2 talents that a medical ninja needs by Tsunade. It's weird that they just also happen to be the talents of a genjutsu user. This case is odd. On one hand, genjutsu itself never really got anywhere near the screen time it probably should have. Unless it was Sharingan genjutsu, of course. On the other hand, Sakura herself didn't get anywhere close to the screen time allotted to Naruto and Sasuke, who became the actual genjutsu specialist of Team 7 in the end. So maybe this was just something that was pushed aside as Sakura herself got pushed aside in the actual series. When the Reaper Death Seal was first brought up, it was pretty clearly stated that any souls taken by the Reaper were, well, permanently sealed away.
Right.
There wasn't supposed to be any way of undoing the seal. That's what made it a desperate, final do-or-die move. This made Hiruzen sacrifice all the nobler. This made Orochimaru more desperate as he tried to move out of one useless body and into someone else's. Only to discover that the state of his soul meant that he couldn't use those new arms either. Yet later on, we find the Uzumaki masks, one of which has the power to undo the Reaper Death Seal. I mean, the only real requirement to the technique is that the person wearing the mask has to slash their own stomach, which would normally be a big downside, but not for him. Why was Orochimaru so upset about the loss of his arms anyway? Did he actually find this between Part 1 and Shippuden? Because that would explain why he seems to have his arms back all of a sudden. The Reaper Death Seal is just one of those things that didn't age particularly
100%
well,
agree.
even if this retcon did let us see all of the Hokage again, so maybe it was worth it. That brings us to a retcon which I think has very far-reaching implications for pretty much all of Naruto, one that most people don't really think about very often.
Alright, hit us
From
with
the
it,
beginning
man.
of the series, we know that Naruto has the 9 tails inside of him. We spend the entire series with this knowledge, with Naruto tapping into its power to fight everyone from Haku to Pain. During the war, Naruto uses its strength to stare down several other tailed beasts, all at the same time. Naruto doesn't just hold his own, he pretty much proves the 9 tails is stronger than them. This already leads to some odd problems. Why exactly is the 9 tails so much stronger than the other tailed beasts? Again, we have to assume that the 9 tails was either always stronger or has grown significantly more than the rest of them. Then we find out that the Nine Tails Naruto has had the entire series is only half of the Nine Tails. Yes, Minato sealed only half of Kurama into Naruto,
Zero, if you're
sealing
still
the
watching,
other half
you're
into
still
himself.
fucking
Even half of Kurama can overpower every other tailed beast. This is an obvious retcon, and we need to discuss it. Okay, it was never stated that they were all nearly equal or anything, but well, a lot of the events in Naruto don't make a lot of sense now. The Sand Village only attacked the Leaf because they had Shukaku. The plan was to let the One Tails loose and win that way. That plan seems much less feasible when the Leaf Village has a weapon way stronger than the One Tails. I guess they hoped that the clash would destroy the village, but that means they were going to sacrifice the One Tails and Gaara. I guess Orochimaru's calling the shots and he doesn't care about that. Why did the Akatsuki spend hundreds of episodes tracking down all of the tailed beasts when nothing but the Nine Tails really matters? For Pain's plan, they really needed nothing more than just the Nine Tails. It's surprising that Pain waited so long to jump Jiraiya. We're all led to believe that the first Hokage was powerful but kind-hearted. One of the big reasons for that is that he gave away almost all of the tailed beasts, keeping just one little Nine Tails for Konoha. That action isn't nearly as benevolent when you realize that the other tailed beasts are basically nothing compared to the Nine Tails. How is it that the Leaf Village ignored the single strongest force by far on the entire planet until after he became a Genin? The Leaf has fallen so far that it can't even control the Nine Tails anymore. Its Jinchuriki is a clueless child, and the Uchiha are all but gone. Honestly, this has implications for a lot of Naruto's world bending. Like say, how are the Great Ninja Wars even possible, when Konoha has something that can instantly end any war at any time? Oh right, all of the nations are funded by the revenue from their ninja villages. So these were for-profit Great Ninja Wars. Still, the rest of the planet should have all been allied against the Leaf, because the strength disparity is simply too massive. Speaking of Naruto's upbringing, there's another pretty glaring retcon there. Naruto was given the surname Uzumaki rather than Namikaze, specifically because Minato was so feared that just associating with him would put him in danger. Well, in Shippuden, we learn that the Uzumakis were a clan so powerful and feared that several villages all banded together to wipe them out from existence. Bearing the name Uzumaki should have been
I didn't know about this shit. This is a retcon? I didn't know about the Minato, he couldn't take the name because of the danger with it. But I feel like at the same time, that name would have had a lot of people stop fucking with him, you know? Like, he would have been good in the hood. Naruto would have been chilling.
Just as dangerous as being the fourth Hokage's son, yet until Shippuden, this never really gets mentioned at all. Another inconsistency is around Minato himself. Sage Mode is extremely powerful, something only a handful of shinobi use in the entire series. Yet if Minato could use Sage Mode, why didn't he use it to defend the Leaf Village from the Nine Tails? Was it just a flex? Finally, we have what most people think is the biggest retcon, Naruto being the child of prophecy. A lot of Naruto was spent with Naruto being an underdog, slowly working his way up against seemingly insurmountable odds with nothing but guts and hard work. He wants to be the Hokage, and everyone thinks it's impossible the first time they hear it, because he kinda seems pretty bad at being a ninja. Then
Your bug spray should take out bugs, not keep out people. Unlike other sprays that stick around, Zevo goes from kill to clean in
what do you
just
guys think of
seconds.
the retcons? Do
Plus,
you have a
it's
problem
safe for
with
use
the
around
Naruto
people and
retcons? Are
pets.
you cool with them?
Zevo,
Let me know your
people-friendly,
opinion.
bug-deadly.
Why try Febreze Car? Febreze starts just right and stays just right for 40 days. Febreze Car.
Then we find out that he's actually the child of prophecy, which some fans feel
Yeah, I didn't like
somewhat
the
invalidates
consistency
a
of
lot
the
of his
reproduction.
struggles. I don't think this retcon is nearly as bad as people think. Naruto was never really an underdog. He literally had a tailed beast inside of him for the entire series. To me, the series has always been more about Naruto's journey of confronting people's hate, not him getting more powerful. A classic example of this misconception is Naruto's conversation with Neji in the Chunin exams. The way the alleged contradiction is presented is as follows. Naruto argued with Neji about being able to change one's fate, how some people were always destined for greatness while other people were nothing. At the time, Naruto was still the underdog. Well, we all know what happens later. Naruto is revealed to be the chosen one. But is that really what they were arguing? If that were the case, Naruto wouldn't change his mind about Hinata after losing to Naruto. So there must be more to it than that. It's true that Neji was saying that some people are born geniuses and some people are born failures. Neji says that those who become Hokage are destined for it, which actually is correct. But he was also saying Naruto is a failure, which is demonstrably wrong. Neji thought his keen eyes could see the fates of others. Of course this rubs Naruto the wrong way. Naruto has spent the entire Chunin exams trying to get people to take a second look at him. Gaara, Neji, Lee, all of the strong guys have just been looking past him at Sasuke. None of them saw the great power inside Naruto. But then, this asshole treats Hinata the same way and has the nerve to vocalize the thoughts that Naruto fears most. Neji's entire demeanor makes Naruto desperately want to prove him wrong, the only way he knows how. But Naruto's insistence that someone's apparent fate doesn't matter infuriates Neji because of his memories of his father's circumstances. Looking back at the conversation, Naruto is trying to tell Neji that he shouldn't judge others based on his perception of their fate, because he doesn't know what anyone's fate is, even his own. Naruto was right. Neji literally didn't know he was in a show titled Naruto, and he was telling the main character that he was going to be a loser for the rest of his life. It's impossible for him to see that. Naruto being revealed to be the child of prophecy really doesn't invalidate their previous conversation. It does nothing but prove that Neji's way of life was wrong. I would like to repeat on this channel the sentiment that it is truly impressive how these behemoth stories are so coherent, especially when they are told to us over many long years of an author's life. It's easy to make mistakes and continuity errors when you're in that position, even with editors and assistants and guidebooks trying to help you keep track of everything.
You were
That's why it's
on
becoming
Neji's
more
dad
popular to
watch?
plan your
Hey,
entire
you ain't
series
lying,
before you
the
begin,
fuck.
which is
I mean,
such
I got
a dangerous
uppercutted once,
thing for
it
a
did
mangaka.
nothing.
It's a world where your beloved story will get axed if it doesn't get the reader's attention. The more years you invest in prepping your story, the greater the risk. So the tradition was to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Naruto deserves its spot among the big three for many reasons. One of them, in my opinion, is how well it handled its retcons. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe, share this video with someone who will like.
Kato, man. My boy Zero, he will be on podcasts with the group as well. Now we're gonna go over to the last new member of the podcast group, right? Zerchan, my boy, he's over 7K subs now. He just recently posted Zombie Man vs. Wolverine is not a stalemate. We're going to look at that. We're going to peep.
Hey everyone, it's your boy Zev here. Today, we're going to be discussing the complex and close matchup of Wolverine versus Zombie Man. Now, I will lay down a few ground rules since they're both immortal. A knockout or scenario resulting in a complete domination is a win. So if Wolverine would slash Zombie Man every time he regenerated with the Muramasa, that counts as a win since he's incapacitated and can't retaliate. I will also give the two of them prep, meaning Wolverine knows Zombie Man's immortal, so he will default to using his blade, and Zombie Man has intel about Wolverine's claws and battle skills. Anyways, let's get into the video. If you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing, leaving a thanks in the comments, as well as leaving a like on the video. Let's get started. Wolverine, also known as Logan or James Howlett, is a renowned character in the Earth 616 continuity of the Marvel Comics. He possesses an impressive array of abilities and attributes that make him one of the most formidable mutants in the Marvel Universe. Wolverine's healing factor is one of his most notable strengths. He has displayed extraordinary resilience and the ability to recover from severe injuries. In X-Men Volume 2, Wolverine is reduced to a skeleton and manages to heal and fully regenerate his entire body. This healing factor also grants him an extended lifespan and slows down his aging process, allowing him to endure and recover from
wounds
that
get a
will
chance
fatal
to
to
show
others.
you guys
Another significant aspect of Wolverine's strength lies in his adamantium skeleton and claws. His skeleton is coated in the indestructible metal adamantium, rendering him nearly invulnerable to physical attacks. This makes him exceptionally durable and able to withstand tremendous amounts of damage. His retractable claws, also made of adamantium, are iconic and renowned for their incredible cutting power. In Wolverine Volume 2, number 75, he effortlessly cuts and slices through an entire army of ninja warriors, showcasing the lethal precision and devastating effectiveness of these claws. He can also harm people massively above his own strength, effectively ignoring durability with his claws despite having around building level strike power. Similarly, his skeleton is nearly indestructible, but his flesh is around building level. Wolverine's combat skills and experience also contribute to his strength. He is a highly skilled hand-to-hand combatant and has received
Disagree with his flesh being building level. His flesh has definitely taken some crazy shit before.
Various martial arts over his long life. He demonstrates his expertise by defeating a skilled ninja assassin in intense hand-to-hand combat using his impressive hypersonic speed. His combat prowess, combined with his heightened senses and adamantium claws, allow him to take down formidable opponents and emerge victorious. In Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine goes into a feral berserker rage and single-handedly takes on the entire Hellfire Club, defeating them all. He also has access to a blade, the Muramasa, a blade that greatly reduces healing factors and regeneration speeds. It can also ignore durability due to being able to cut through adamantium. This same metal can cut through and harm low multiversal beings like Hulk and Thanos. Despite his formidable abilities, Wolverine does have a weakness. One of his vulnerabilities lies in psychic powers. While his physical attributes are exceptional, his mind is relatively susceptible to psychic manipulation or attacks. In New X-Men, he falls victim to a powerful psychic attack from Cassandra Nova, rendering him catatonic and highly...
He actually does later get outfitted with mental mind hacks resistances put into his brain by X.
Highlighting his vulnerability in this aspect. Wolverine
so
also is shown to frequently be slowed down by heavy gunfire. Refer to the multiple panels here that's shown being knocked down or out briefly by headshots or heavy gunfire wounds to the body. Additionally, Wolverine's adamantium enhancements have their limitations. The weight of his adamantium skeleton hampers his speed and agility, making him slightly slower compared to mutants without such enhancements. Although his healing factor compensates to some extent, it still affects his overall mobility. The limitation is evident in various comic book portrayals and is a factor Wolverine must contend with in battle. Speaking of such, Wolverine can be killed by suffocation, cell destruction, and decapitation. Let's move on to Zombie Man and his equally impressive and interesting strengths and weaknesses. Zombie Man, a character from the webcomic and manga series One Punch Man, possesses unique abilities that make him a formidable and durable opponent. Zombie Man's strength lies in his immortality, remarkable regenerative abilities, and his unyielding determination in a battle of attrition. Zombie Man's most prominent strength is his ability to regenerate from any injury, no matter how severe. In this series, he has demonstrated the capacity to reassemble his body after being dismembered, decapitated, or turned to mincemeat. This regenerative ability allows him to keep fighting even in the face of overwhelming damage, and even in a state where the body normally can't function. An example of this is seen when Zombie Man is engaged in combat with the monster Pureblood. Despite suffering critical injuries, he manages to recover and continue fighting, eventually defeating his opponent despite their own superior power and immortality. Another strength of Zombie Man is his enhanced physical abilities and even intelligence stemming from his detective duties. While he may not possess Darkshine or Bang levels of superhuman strength or speed, he has displayed exceptional power, endurance, and resilience. Zombie Man was able to take down Pureblood, who should be around town level like the other demon level threats. In the audiobook, he's even able to defeat Carnage Kabuto in his Carnage mode, which is a very impressive feat. He simply let him run out of stamina and then began attacking, not only proving he has insane levels of stamina, but his firepower can harm those on a scale above Genos at the time, who could destroy entire mountainsides casually. Zombie Man's stamina allows him to withstand prolonged battles and continue fighting even when faced with overwhelming odds. His ability to keep pushing forward regardless of the circumstances makes him a relentless and tenacious opponent.
There is absolutely nothing going on with me romantically.
Great. Can I buy you a drink after this?
His speed is nothing to scoff at either. Being able to dodge, react to, and intercept the Homeless Emperor's light powers, which could blitz the other monster cadres. On top of this, his immortality and regenerative abilities grant him the unique advantage in combat situations. He can utilize risky tactics such as intentionally sacrificing his limbs to gain an advantage or distract his opponents. Additionally, he can hide artillery and weapons inside his body as traps for his adversaries. Despite his remarkable strengths, Zombie Man has a certain limitation and weaknesses. Firstly, while his regenerative abilities are potent, they do have limits. His physical attributes, while enhanced, are not on par with some of the most powerful characters in the series, as I mentioned. This could put him at a disadvantage against opponents with large-scale attacks or immense speed. It's also important to note that Zombie Man's regenerative abilities are not instantaneous. While he can heal from severe injuries even while fighting, the process takes time, leaving him vulnerable to other attacks during this phase. In the end, this fight can go one of two ways. Zombie Man, while not possessing weapons with multiversal damage potential, has more than enough firepower and strength to incapacitate Wolverine. Zombie Man possesses reaction speeds much higher than Wolverine, even when scaling him off Captain America, for example.
100% disagree. I will be addressing this with Zara Chan. 100% disagree, Zara. 100% disagree. Wolverine is significantly faster.
While being fast, it's doubtful that he would land a strike in general. While Zombie Man can be reckless, he is a detective. In a versus battle, it's safe to use this to his advantage, and safe to say that he would learn a minimum about Wolverine's claws, as well as his low stamina based on his previous battles. You have to keep in mind, this same Zombie Man was able to locate Dr. Genus without any prior insight.
Nah, saying Wolverine has low stamina is kind of crazy too, I'm not gonna lie.
In direct hand-to-hand, Wolverine dominates. However, it's doubtful if he would ever even match up with Zombie Man or land a hit, since he would be speed blitzed and incapacitated by Zombie Man's incredible AP. Wolverine has been shown to be weak to heavy firepower and can be knocked out by it as well. As per the fight rules, since they're immortal, Wolverine could lose to this. He does have the arsenal and skill to kill Zombie Man, but simply lacks the speed to make any of it possible at a reasonable rate. If he were to land a hit, it would certainly be damaging, and if done with a Muramasa, Zombie Man has no counter. But that simply isn't going to happen 99% of the time. The other way this goes is a stalemate. They're both immortal after all, and even though the Muramasa negates their ability, it doesn't completely get rid of it. Zombie Man's immortality is also, frankly, a lot better than Wolverine's, as decapitation and dismemberment don't stop him. In the end, either way, Zombie Man has the clear advantage, mainly stemming from his speed and intellect as well as his immense and seemingly boundless stamina. Wolverine's going to get tired as he has previously and simply be incapacitated. If you enjoyed this video and want more like this, consider, leaving a like, leave a comment.
Loved
Subscribe,
it.
Of course.
Disagree heavily, but
maybe
I'll talk with
Cash
them
App,
about that
of course,
on
through the comments.
podcast, yeah.
So if there's a video you guys want to see specifically, let me know.
But yeah, definitely go check his channel out
I guess
too.
the question of the day.
These are the people that will be joining me on my podcast bare minimum. I might have others that do as well. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys some of their content today in case you haven't seen it. I'm personally excited to get that started. Today, I think I'm either going to do a goon video or I might do 10 jobbers who are also goons. Maybe I'll get the Lucifer video out today. I'm not sure, but regardless, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been your boy Jobbers and Goons, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.